Welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka on the sunny morning, a bright morning as we talked about earlier on, and we covered an entire lot, Amaya, and we're having a lot of fun. And I want to indulge in the most entertaining factor here. I want to ask you the journey that both of you have taken and some of the most exciting turns in the life that you've been in this industry. Shanuki revealed some of the interesting parts about your life. I want you to do the same with her life.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, there's a lot.
She's like challenging him.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Let me say this. I think we had the privilege of having Shanuki in the first production she took part in after school. Am I right? Was that your first?
It was, I think the second production actually.
After school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we did Black Comedy, Shanuki joined us the performing arts production of Black Comedy, and she was, obviously quite a star in terms of her acting capability and things like that. And she also had a major attitude at that time.
He lies! He lies!
It's all coming out now.
We dealt with, and I'd like to say we had I hope we had a hand in bringing her down to the Shanuki she is now. Which
What
is
I
a very
am
lovable
today is
Shanuki.
all Adam's fault, i.e.
And she shifted the blame onto you.
But she was great, and we had a great time. We just led her on such a ride in that play. Can I just tell them about that? That was just so funny. Midway in the play, because she was very particular about things, we had this other actor, Dayan Kandappa, who was a media guy. And one day, I think Shanuki just made the mistake of asking whether he was married, because there was this photograph he had with 2 kids lying on his body, and that was his best friend's children or something. And he said, yeah, he is. And then she asked him whether those were his kids, and he said, yeah. And then it went on, and then she wanted to know about his wife and why she didn't turn up around. And so he said he was, estranged from her. And we had Shanuki sort of keeping a distance from him a bit after that for a while, And so we went on right through rehearsals. By now everyone had cottoned on, and so every day we would add something to that story.
And
then on one of the
tragic story of this man who had been estranged from his wife and he didn't get to see his kids, and I felt so bad for him.
was taken through, and one of the show nights we hyped this thing about how she was coming to watch the show that night, and Shanuki was more excited than Diane was about the fact that she was coming. And finally, at the cast party, I announced that we had this big announcement to make, and that it was a happy announcement about Diane. And Shanuki gets up and gives him a big hug, and he says, "I'm so happy for you, Diane." And so the announcement was that he wasn't married at all. And of course, I think Shanuki will never live that one down.
No.
Oh, so that's what they did to you, Shanuki, in your
Moments of
first
truth.
production out
Yeah,
of school.
so that was the one and only time I have ever been blonde.
Admit it.
Blonde for
I've
a
been
while.
very, very wary about things that Adam says since then.
It was good fun.
What do you think about the industry, the future of the industry here? Do you see a future in the Sri Lankan context? Shanuki?
I do see a future because there is such a lot of potential and there is such a lot of star power out there that remains untapped. However, English theatre in this country being an amateur industry, we tend to have a little bit of a difficult time getting the funding and the sponsorships that we need sometimes to put on productions of good entertainment and good quality. So that lack of support in terms of financial support that the industry faces is a bit of a bottleneck, because there's so much more we can do if we had that. So sometimes I find that especially with amateur theatre companies such as the Performing Arts Company and the workshop plays and all, sometimes we are faced with this problem of where we might have to cut corners, or we might not be able to do certain things that we have to do simply because those resources are not available to us. That said, we have been able to put on some
Great
fantastic stuff sheerly out of passion and the want to do something great. I just hope that the craft remains, because a lot of the time, especially with the school level, like the Shakespeare competitions and a lot of newer productions coming up, people tend to rely on the technology and the fancy costumes and the lights and the pizzazz more than the theatre craft, which is where we come from, the basics of theatre technique and acting and stage direction. And so it's important that we keep that up and nurture the next generation to make that the base on which theatre is built, rather than all those little frills around it, because otherwise you just lose the beauty, and the magic of theatre becomes just something like, you know, what happens on a film screen.
So do we have a bunch of kids who are really talented in it for the future?
Oh,
Is it, yeah?
Oh,
Adam, what are your opinions on that? Because you've been involved with some young people as well, and you know their
potential superstars in the future. Yeah.
While we have no shortage of talent whatsoever, people who are interested in being a part of the theatre, on a critical note, I feel that for maybe various social reasons, political reasons, I feel that our audiences have drifted a little bit away from appreciating quality theatre.
Good, of course.
You know, and I feel that it's a shame that, you know, you do a Tennessee Williams play and you can't fill your houses with it. But what people are perhaps seeking from the theatre is sheer entertainment and not anything of literary value.
I see.
I feel that is beginning to slide a little over time, perhaps because of a lack of literature exposure at school level, or perhaps because of a dearth of literature-oriented productions overall.
I see.
Perhaps that might be a contributing factor as well. I mean, except for in the serious theatre, except for something perhaps done from Shakespeare, which is well known, I feel that any production from any other playwright would be difficult to sustain for more than 3 or 4 nights, even in Colombo. And that's a shame. I'd really like to see our theatre audiences coming back and supporting serious theatre as much as they would the comedies and the musicals, as much as they would the pure entertainment aspect. And if that happens, I think theatre will be a lot more self-sustaining.
Of course, and they should go back to the Oscar Wildes and the George Bernard Shaws, is it? And because I haven't seen a production like that come up in a while as well.
I don't think a lot of kids in Sri Lanka today have seen a production of that caliber at all,
or
which is sad.
Even more contemporary playwrights, you know, Tom Stoppard and people of that nature as well. There are some great playwrights out there, but we are also as producers nervous to go into it too often, for the reason that, you know, it's this whole vicious cycle. So you need to do one crazy comedy or great musical and then fill the next one in with a serious play, so that you can just balance your finances out. You know?
Of course. And when you speak about people you can emulate in this industry, who have been in the Sri Lankan theatre industry, who have your idols been and who have you looked up to?
I was really fortunate to have had the early years with people like Richard, the Ponnaya brothers, Rohan and Christopher, Jerome, of course. Also the generation beyond above us, people from ECP, Vijay Singha's time and things like that. Eustace Fonseca, seen all of them on stage very often, been sweeping the stage when they were walking on it and things like that. And you know, those experiences are difficult to forget. They were legends, really. You used the word before, but I think it applies to them more than it applies to us. And that learning has been tremendous. And now working with some of the youngsters, and again I say some of the people coming out of school are so brave and courageous with the kind of work they want to do. Even artists, you know, like some of the younger kids who have started experimenting with direction are very bold. And you know, there was this lovely production 2 weeks ago by Anusha Sunanayaka, Anushka, and very experimental, very bold, clever, and so there's there's a lot to look forward to.
We do have only a couple of minutes remaining on the show, so this is a question that I really want to ask both of you, especially Shanaki, at this, because there are so many people out there who are not yet in the theatre industry but would like to give it a shot in entering the industry, but yet who don't have that it factor and they're very nervous
No,
in
you
coming.
don't have to
Do
have
you
the
agree?
it factor.
You don't?
No, there is not. Everybody has the it factor in them. It's just that some people discover it, some people don't. If you are really keen on being in theatre, just try out. Your first step is take that first step, get into an audition. I mean, we are not very picky. I think we welcome anyone and everyone who has a passion for the art. So if you want to be a part of a production, find out what auditions are happening, find out what plays are coming up, and go and tell the director that you want to take part. 9 out of 10 times that director will want you to be a part of the show. If you've got what we call stage fright, if you've got that, then there are other ways in which you can be a part of a production. You can get involved backstage, you can get involved with sets, lights, costumes, whatever it is, and get your feet wet until you're confident enough to join the cast on stage if that's what you want. But trust you me, in this country, because of its amateur state, we have such a lot of fun and love in the whole process of putting a production together that nobody feels out of sorts once they get involved. You just get sucked into it and you have the time of your life, and you'll want to keep doing it over and over again. That's guaranteed.
So that's the magic of theatre, isn't it?
Exactly.
So thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sorry that's all the time we have for today, but it's been a really great show, and I think that both of you have inspired so many people to take that first step forward and go into this great industry.
And that includes myself as well.
So okay.
So I will see you in the next production.
Hopefully I'll get to the audition, and as you said, 9 out of 10.
Just come.
Yeah.
Just come.
Get your feet wet. So thank you, Shanaki and Adam, for being
Thank
with
you
us.
very much for
Thank you
so
for
much
having
once
us,
again,
really.
and join us on our Facebook page as well. It's www.facebook.com/Good Morning Sri Lanka, and write to us on MTV Sports at maharaja.lk and stand a chance in winning MTV merchandise. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Sri Lanka. Have yourself a great and a fantastic day ahead.
Shall we finish off in a theatre style? Going ta-da!
Do the bow.
Do the bow.